Great to be here, Piers.
Mark Levine has posted on X, folks, Tucker, is in my opinion, mentally ill. That is the explanation. It's not complicated. What he says, incessant lying and conspiracies, obsessive hatred of Israel and Jews, his speech pattern and odd rambling, strange cackling, wild mood swings and all the rest. That's his latest diatribe about Tucker. He's done similar to you as well and others. What do you make of that?
Frankly, I can't believe that Fox News allows him to continue going on the air, given what he's saying about mainstream conservative figures. It's really dangerous. And I think if Mark Levin and others want to figure out why there's so much negative feeling happening about Israel right now, they should start by looking at Israel instead of the people who are offering the criticism. You know, it's not dissimilar entirely from the whole thing with Ben Shapiro going after you, going after me, deciding on his own who can and cannot be within the conservative movement. And then when some of us said, who died and made you king of conservatives? Who gets to decide who's in and out? They said, you're an anti-Semite. Wait, no. What you're saying is creating anti-Semites. No. What he is saying is creating anti-Semites. Anybody who purports to say, I will decide who can speak and who cannot, and how they need to speak and how they can't, automatically engenders a sort of revulsion by the thinking West, because we have freedom in our blood and we don't work that way generally. That tends to be a very far left thing, the policing of the language. And there have been people who are very pro-Israel, like Levin, like the folks over at Commentary Magazine, who for a very long time now have been trying to conflate anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And then a debate unfolded about what is anti-Zionism? Because many of us thought it was, do you believe that Israel, is a country, like they deserve to have a place to live? It's kind of morphed into more like they have a biblical right to your support for whatever portion of the Middle East they want to occupy. And if you define it that way, which I think Tucker does, more and more people are like, well, I'm out. I'm not saying that. They don't have a right to dominate the Middle East, and they don't have a right to be in those particular borders any more than the United States has a right to be in its particular borders. Over the course of hundreds of years, these things change. There's not a biblical right that I need to support as a Christian. But it has been the most ardently pro-Israel people, like the Commentary Magazine people, like Mark Levin, who have been trying to intentionally make that conflation. And it's just not true. You go on your show regularly and criticize your government and the United States. I do the same. I mean, if you counted up all the criticisms I've had of obviously the Joe Biden administration, the Obama administration, but also the Trump administrations, we'd be here for months. But I can't do the same against Bibi Netanyahu. I can't do the same against Israel because I'm a Christian or because it makes me an anti-Semite. Thinking people know that's a lie, and it makes them...
Yeah, and I think the people like Mark Levin who, starting that clip that I show with, people are trying to blame the Jews. They're not. I mean, look, there are some people out there who are genuinely anti-Semitic who will definitely blame the Jews for everything and hate Jewish people. Of course they are. They're genuine anti-Semites. But the people he's alluding to in that rant of his are actually people who've criticized the Israeli government, and people like Ben-Gvir, whose wife gives him a birthday cake for his 50th birthday only 2 days ago, which has a golden noose on it. And they celebrate this. This is psychopathic behavior. And I've been pointing this out about Smotrich and Ben-Gvir for a while. For those who are not as up to speed with the history of what happened here, Netanyahu only got back into power by getting into bed with some extremely dark individuals like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, whose game plan really is to get all the Palestinians out of the West Bank, out of Gaza, and take it all over themselves. They are supremacists in that sense. And the idea that somehow you conflate criticism of those people working in a very, very hardline Israeli government, doing some stuff which most people, most decent-minded people, find increasingly unacceptable, that you suddenly twist that into, well, it's blaming the Jews. This is an anti-Jewish thing, as if somehow it's about the religion of anybody. It's completely shameful and outrageous.
No, they're using it as an obvious tactic to stop us from leveling those criticisms. And I will tell you, as somebody who's been defensive largely of Israel over the past few years in its retaliatory campaign against Hamas, I'm disgusted by this because this guy puts the truth to what I had previously believed was a lie about Israel. You know, I didn't get into the day-to-day that much on what was happening in Gaza, but I generally felt like, you know what, they attacked Israel. It was absolutely brutal. It was a terrorist attack. And you and I had a discussion about, do they really need a proportionate response, Israel? We wouldn't have done that as the United States. I meant that at the time. I looked at Israel and perceived its behavior in good faith. Like this is a people that was attacked like we were attacked on 9/11, and they have every right to go and, you know, harshly defend themselves against the group of people that did it. No, it's so far beyond that. They genuinely don't seem to care about the tens of thousands of civilians, including children, including people who are obviously innocent. And enough time goes by, Piers, and even people like me who were previously pro-Israel see, wait a minute, they're lying. They're using that, the horror of 10/7, to justify their own terrible behavior every day thereafter. And you see this on camera. You can't avoid it. The other piece of the card is what's happening now in Iran, where President Trump, I think, having realized this was a massive mistake, is trying repeatedly to get us out of it, the United States. And why can't we? Because our truly close personal ally, Israel, won't let us. Every time he tries to declare a peace, they start bombing Lebanon again. And Iran says, you know what? There's no peace deal. This was part of it. We know it was part of it because the Pakistani prime minister tweeted that out the night of the ceasefire, saying Lebanon is part of it. And only once Israel called Trump, Netanyahu, saying, hey, we really want to keep bombing Lebanon and we're not going to agree not to, did it suddenly get otherized. And that's been one of the main sticking points in actually having a ceasefire ever since. Israel at every turn turns to warlike behavior, more deaths of civilians. Look at the journalists who are being killed in Lebanon, not to mention the children who are getting bombed. Some of it is on camera. And every time just says, oh, well, we tried not to. Well, I listened to that. I listened to that for a good year, 2 years. And now I see you doing it in location after location. And Lebanon and Beirut is starting to look like Gaza. And you're unapologetic about it. And you won't work with us. And you definitely goaded our president into this, though he has agency and is equally to blame. And now I'm sick of it. And I don't care. And I think Tucker doesn't care. And I think you don't care. And sane people don't care. Call me whatever the hell you want. I don't care. I've been called a bigot by the trans people. I've been called a racist by the BLMers. I've been called now an anti-Semite by you folks.
Yeah, it's the same tactic, isn't it?
I'm a truly disgusting person, or I just have political takes based on reality that are mainstream now.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same tactic each time. It's actually a tactic of enforcing censorship.